Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Ma bhikkave puññānaṁ bhāyinta sukassetam bhikkave adivachanam ittassa kantassa piyassa manapassa yadidam puññāni. Dear meritorious, humble devotees, before we commence the sermon, let's take a few moments to pay the homage to our great teacher, the Blessed One, the Supremely Enlightened One, the Tathagata Gautama Samma Sambuddha. We should pay the homage on behalf of the dedication for the enlightenment, for the salvation he did truly on behalf of us. When he born as the Sumedha Tapasa, our Bodhisattva had all the qualification to be an enlightened one, to become an arahant by listening to a single verse which has 4 lines in front of the Dipankara Samma Sambuddha. Having all these qualities to become an arahant, he did not took that chance because he thought, as a bodhisattva, he thought that to become an arahant alone, to end this samsara, to end these sufferings alone is not suitable a person like me, and I should help the other living beings to overcome these sufferings, to overcome the life cycle, the samsara. So he chose a path to become a Samma Sambuddha like Dipankara Samma Sambuddha, and he refused to become an arahant, to obtain the enlightenment what he was capable of. Then he started the long journey towards the great enlightenment, and after so many eons, after fulfilling all the paramis, he became the Gautama Samma Sambuddha under the Bodhi tree. So we should pay homage because of that dedication, for the sacrification he has done for the living beings who are suffering from the samsara like you and me. Today we have the Saddhamma because of the dedication what he has done on behalf of us. Then we should pay the homage for the Saddhamma what was preached by Samma Sambuddha within 45 years from the enlightenment until he made his parinibbana. And the Saddhamma prevails as its pure level. So if someone tries to understand this deep Saddhamma and who tries to end this samsara, end this suffering, all the sufferings, the pure Dhamma which prevails today, which will help to that being, to that person to be enlightened, to end up the samsara, all the sufferings, and to obtain the ultimate nibbana. So we should pay the homage for the Saddhamma as well, and then we should pay the homage for the Mahasangha who got enlightened from the Buddha's era until today, who have achieved the 4 MÆGHAs, 4 Phalas, ultimate Nibbana. We call them Atta Arya Puggala, and all the Sanghas who worked hard and who carried this Saddhamma in its pure level with so many difficulties, even by sacrificing their lives from the Patama Mahasangiti until today. We should pay homage for these Mahasanghas before we commence the Dhamma sermon. Having paid the homage to Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, let's commence the sermon today. I kept a verse in the beginning as the topic of this sermon, which was in the Itivuttaka Pali, the Pali Canon. First of all, we should identify, we should understand what is this Itivuttaka Pali. It's the fourth book in Khuddaka Nikaya, and it contains 112 suttas altogether, and each and every sutta begins with the statement Uttang Hetam Bhagavata. Likewise, that is the speciality of these suttas. We all know there are 84,000 facts, Dhamma facts in Pali Canon altogether. We can divide all these 84,000 Dhamma facts into 9 major categories. We call them Navanga Sattu Sasana. They are Sutta, Geya, Veyyakarana, Gatha Udana, Itivuttaka, Jataka, Abbhuta Dhamma and Vedalla. Those 9 major parts, we can see a segment called Itivuttaka. This Itivuttaka Pali refers to that segment, that Itivuttaka. These, all the suttas which are in this Itivuttaka Pali was preached by the Buddha himself to the Bhikkhuni Kujjuttara Mahatheri, who was the greatest Dhamma preacher among the Bhikkhunis in the Buddha's era. So, these all the suttas were preached by Buddha himself to this Venerable Kujjuttara Mahatheri time to time, and then that Theri recalled all the suttas and preached again to 500 women who was in Udena's place and led by Samavati. When preaching these suttas, that Mahatheri put a statement in the beginning and as well as the end of the sutta. In the beginning, she has put the statement Uttang Hetam Bhagavata, Uttang Arahata, Iti Me Suttam. That means the sutta is preached by the Blessed One, the Arahant, Samma Sambuddha, so I have heard. This is the beginning of each and every sutta. And at the end of the sutta, each and every sutta, we can see the statement Ayampi Bhutto Bhagavata Iti Me Suttam. The meaning of the sutta was preached by the Blessed One, Samma Sambuddha, so I have heard this. These two statements she has put in the beginning and the end of each and every sutta to emphasize all the suttas were preached by Buddha himself, not by her own. All the sermons in Pali Canon we can categorize into 4 categories by considering the person who has preached that particular sutta. They are Buddha Bhasita, Savaka Bhasita, Isi Bhasita and Deva Bhasita. The first category is Buddha Bhasita, that is originally it was preached by Buddha himself. Savaka Bhasita, they were preached by the Mahasavakas, the great disciples of Buddha, and Isi Bhasita and Deva Bhasita preached by the other persons which are not in the Sasana and by the Devas or Brahmas. But by accepting those suttas, those preachings by Buddha, later they became Buddha Desana, Saddhamma. We consider them, all these 4 categories which were accepted by Buddha, so we consider them as Buddha Bhasita. But originally, the suttas what were preached by Buddha we call Buddha Bhasita. And in Vedalla there are suttas like Anangana Sutta, Sammaditthi Sutta, Anumana Sutta, and Chulla Vedalla, Mahavedalla, and Theravada, Therigata. These were preached by Mahasavaka, great disciples of Buddha. So later they became Saddhamma because they have been accepted by Samma Sambuddha. But they are not originally preached by Buddha. But in Itivuttaka Pali, in this Pali canon, all the suttas originally were preached by Samma Sambuddha. So the evidence are the statements which were put in the beginning and at the end of the sutta, each and every sutta. So that is the speciality of this Itivuttaka Pali. So having identified these specialities, then we go to the sermon, today's sermon. Having identified the speciality and what is Itivuttaka Pali, let's go to the topic what I have put at the beginning of this sermon. Ma bhikkhave puññānaṁ bhāyit sukassetam bhikkhave adivachanam ittassa kantassa piyassa manāpassa yadidam puññāni. When we consider about the meaning, the first word of the sutta, ma, is a particle, a nipata, which has the meaning of the prevention. The meaning is do not. Bhikkhave is a vocative term to address the disciples of Buddha, my dear disciples or my dear monks. Ma bhikkhave puññānaṁ bhāyit. The puñña, the term puñña, refers the meritorious deeds or meritorious acts. So these meritorious acts, as per the sutta, we can divide into three main categories. They are dānamaya puñña kiriyavattu, sīlamaya puñña kiriyavattu, and bhavanamaya puñña kiriyavattu. The first one is dānamaya puñña kiriyavattu. That means the acts, meritorious acts, which improves the generosity, alms, or the donations. And sīlamaya puñña kiriyavattu means the self-control by not doing bad things by the word or by the action. Self-control, the morality, moral precepts. The bhavanāve puñña kiriyavattu means the developing the mind, meditation, or developing the concentration. In this sutta, by this bhavanāme puñña kiriyavattu, it is specially mentioned the loving kindness. So here the puñña means these three categories, the meritorious acts in these three categories. Then bhāyit, bhaya term is the meaning of bhaya is fear. So this fear has two categories as per the commentary, the jnana bhaya and sarajya bhaya. Jnana bhaya means when blissful ones, the wise ones, listen to Dhamma, what is preached by Buddha, they think about the impermanence of the life they have got in the divine world or the Brahma world as a blissful life. The impermanence of that life and impermanence of everything and the suffering of the samsara, by thinking of these by the wisdom, the wise beings may frighten. They will get afraid of the samsara. That is called jnana bhaya. Sarajya bhaya means when someone is doing something which makes the bad results, ultimately the suffering. So they will not do that, the first thing, because they are got frightened. They are afraid of the results, bad results. That is called the sarajya bhaya. So even everyone afraid of the bad results, the unblissful things, uncomfortable things, and the sufferings. In this sutta, by the term bhaya, this sarajya bhaya was meant. So Buddha is giving that statement, ma bhikkhave puññānaṁ bhāyit. The meaning is, my dear disciples, don't be afraid of meritorious deeds. Don't be afraid of doing these meritorious deeds, acts. Sukassetam bhikkhave adhivachanam Ittassa kantassa piyassa manapassa yadidam puññāni. My dear disciples, these meritorious deeds are synonyms for the blissful things. What is for the synonym? What is blissful? What is desirable? What is endearing? What is charming? What is pleasing? That punya is a synonym for this. So, he is emphasizing, if it is a synonym, if it is same as the blissful things, desirable things, pleasing, endearing and charming things, so don't get afraid, don't get frightened to do these meritorious deeds, meritorious acts. Because some meritorious deeds, they are somewhat difficult to do, like having precepts, control someone's words or actions. These are somewhat difficult. Doing these alms, giving donations, control himself and doing meditation, improve the concentration, it's somewhat difficult. But Buddha is emphasizing, but even though they are difficult, they are synonym for these blissful things, desirable things, pleasing things. So don't be afraid of doing those meritorious deeds. By giving those two statements, then in the sutta, the next statement is Abhijanami kopanaham bhikkave digarattang katanam puññānam ittang kantam piyang manapang vipākang pacchanubhūtang. So, Buddha is giving a word, Buddha is saying, I know the results of these meritorious deeds because I have got the results. What are blissful, what are desirable, pleasing, endearing and charming. So he is giving some evidences what he has got as the results of the meritorious deeds, what he has done as a bodhisattva in one life called sunetta. I will mention some of the results what he has got by the meritorious deeds. I long experienced desirable, pleasing, endearing, charming results. Having developed a mind of goodwill for 7 years, then for 7 eons of contraction and expansion, I didn't return to this world. Whenever the eon was contracting, I entered the radiance. Whenever the eon was expanding, I reappeared in an empty Brahma abode. There I was Brahma, the great Brahma, the unconquered conqueror, total seer. Then for 36 times I was Sakka, ruler of the gods. By these kind of descriptions, these kind of statements, he is giving so many results, so many evidences what he has got by the result of these meritorious deeds. So you can refer the sutta later. So he is giving, by revealing these results, he is emphasizing why I am giving the first two statements. By giving first two statements, not to be afraid, not to get frightened to do these meritorious deeds. What he was telling those first two statements, he is revealing, he is giving evidences to emphasize his own statements. At the end of the sutta, he is giving 2 verses. Puññameva so sikkheya ayataggam sukudrayam dhanancha samacharyancha metta chittancha bhāvayī ete dhamme bhāvayitva thayo sukha samuddaye abhyapajjan sukhang lokang panditopapajjati. The meaning of these 2 verses is, if the wise person is expecting to have blissful results, the desirable results, then he will do these 3 kind of meritorious deeds. That is, dhanancha samacharyancha metta chittancha bhāvayī. Dana means the alms, donations, which helps to improve the generosity. Samacharyancha means the self-control, but by not doing bad things by the word or by the action. Metta chittancha bhāvayī. developing the mind, specially as per the verse, by improving the loving kindness. By the second verse, the meaning is Pandito ete thayo dhamme bhavaitva. Pandito, the wise person, the wise being, by improving these three kind of meritorious acts, then he will be born in a blissful world, in the divine world, or a world of Brahmas. That is the meaning of these two verses. At the end of the sutta, the usual statement was there, Ayampi Bhutto Bhagavata iti me sutam. This meaning was given by the Buddha, and I have heard the meaning. So, the end of the sutta, and I would like to discuss some facts which relates to this sutta. We met a term punya for the meritorious deeds in the sutta. In the Pali Canon and also in commentaries and sub-commentaries, we can see another word for these meritorious deeds, that is kusala. So, we have two words for the same meritorious deeds, punya and kusala. Are these two words two different words with different meanings, or these two different words have the same meaning? According to Dhamma, these are two words, yes, but they have the same meaning. But we can see, sometimes we can hear some sermons, some interpretations or definitions for these two terms, for punya and kusala, that in a wrong manner, which is against the Dhamma principles, the fundamentals, and the theories of Saddhamma. Some parties, even in some small groups of monks, they have an idea that the punya is also refers to the meritorious deeds, but it helps, it will be the reason to have another life. That means, again, the samsara, this is the cause, the punya is the cause for the samsara, never-ending samsara, and ultimately the suffering. Those meritorious deeds make you far away from Nibbana. That is the definitions according to their opinion, according to their idea for the punya. And kusala are the meritorious deeds which helps to achieve the four MΑGHAs, four phalas, and ultimately Nibbana, which is called Eightfold Noble Path, which help to achieve the Nibbana and which helps to make an end of the suffering, the never-ending samsara. So according to their opinion, these punya and kusala are two different things, two different meritorious deeds which will cause for different purposes. One will cause for the suffering, for the never-ending samsara, and one will cause for the ending of the samsara. Two different interpretations, definitions. But this is wrong according to the Saddhamma, according to the Dhamma theories, the principles and the fundamentals. How we can identify the drawbacks of these definitions? Let's look at the Pali Canon. When we study the Pali Canon, we can see we have Abhidhamma Pitaka. The first book of the Abhidhamma Pitaka is called Dhammasanganippakarana. And in Dhammasanganippakarana, all the minds, all the mentalities are divided well, totally, completely, and given in this same book. When we study about the minds which will cause the meritorious acts, we call the meritorious minds, kusala chitta. When we find out all kusala chittas, there are 21 kusala chittas, not more than 21. There are 17 for kamavachara, rupavachara and arupavachara, and for lokottara 4 meritorious minds, altogether 21 meritorious minds, not more than that. So all these kusala chittas, all these meritorious minds were divided in this Dhammasanganippakarana, and in whole Abhidhamma we can see only kusala chitta term. we can't find this punya chitta term in Abhidhamma. When we study the whole 3 Pitakas, whole Pali Canon, not the commentaries or not the sub-commentaries, only in the Pali Canon, we cannot see this punya chitta term except in one place. That is in the Apadana Pali, Satta Kadamba Puppyathera Apadana, we can see that punya chittena term. Other than that single term, particular place, we cannot find this punya chitta term in the Pali Canon. Always the meritorious mind is described, referred by the term kusala chitta. The kusala chitta, the opposite side of the kusala chitta is akusala chitta. That is the same word for the akusala is papa. So in the Dhammasanganipakarana and in whole Abhidhamma, that unmeritorious minds, these dirty minds, were described by the term akusala chitta, not by the papa chitta term. When we consider the whole Pali Canon, we cannot see this term papa chitta except one place. That is in the Theravada Pali, in Mahamoggallana Theravada, we can see this papa chitta term. Other than that single particular place, in everywhere we can see only the akusala chitta for the unmeritorious mind. So, by considering these qualities what we can see in the Pali Canon, if the Buddha wants to differentiate these kusala chitta and punya chitta, so he would have used these 2 terms in different locations for these 2 different meanings, but always for the meritorious minds referred by the kusala chitta. That means that kusala and punya has the same meaning. That's why in everywhere in Abhidhamma, always in the Vinaya Pitaka and Sutta Pitaka, always the meritorious mind was referred by the kusala chitta, not by the punya chitta. But in the commentaries and sub-commentaries, we can see this punya chitta term in many places, but in the Pali Canon, only one place. Also the akusala chitta and papa chitta is same meaning. That's why in everywhere other than one place, everywhere when the Buddha wants to refer the unmeritorious mind, always he used the term akusala chitta, not the papa chitta, except one place. So by these evidences, we can make a conclusion that these punya and kusala are same meaning and refer to the same Dhamma, same thing, and papa and akusala referred to the same meaning, same Dhamma, same thing. So the first opinion what I have given by some parties, but by some small group of monks, they are giving that the kusala and punya are 2 different things, 2 different meanings. That is wrong opinions, wrong interpretation or wrong definition. Why Buddha is giving those 2 terms, punya and kusala? When we compare the particular places what we can see, punya chitta and papa chitta, the both places we can see the verses. So to protect the meters or maintain the prosody, must have used these punya chitta and papa chitta, only those in 2 places. By that Mahasavaka Mahamoggallana Thera or Satta Kadamba Puppyathera Mahasavaka, we can think that by these Mahasavakas, they have used these punya chitta and papa chitta terms to protect the meters and maintain the prosody of the verses. Why these punya and kusala 2 terms are there in the Pali Canon? Simply we can say, by giving the same term everywhere, it makes somewhat boring. It doesn't make nice the language. In every language we can see that quality, that by giving different names for the same thing, it makes the language nice. It makes beautiful the language and it makes a good feeling for the reader or the listener. So the punya and kusala, 2 different terms were used to make the language nice, and sometimes in the verses to maintain the prosody and protect the meters of the verse. And we can see in the Pali Canon there are for the greedy, the craving, the lobha, there are so many similar words which were used for the same thing, same Dhamma, the Lobha. And for Chitta also, we can see synonyms, similar words to refer the Chitta, the mind. There are so many words. By considering some qualities separately, the names were given. When we compare, when we consider deeply, sometimes these two names were given by considering two qualities of the same thing. By the Dhamma, it's the same thing, but it has two different qualities. By considering those two qualities, by those perspectives, those two names, the Punya and Kusala words, names were given for the same thing, for the same meritorious deeds. Let's take an example. The father in a family, for the children, they refer the name father for the same person. The wife or the mother of the family refer the husband, the name husband, for the same person. If the person has a friend outside the family, then he will refer the name or any other word for that same person. Three different perspectives, we can see three different names. When we take the lamp as an example, that lamp, when we light up a lamp in a dark room, the lamp will give two qualities. We can see two different qualities of the lamp. At the same time, when we light up the lamp, the darkness of the room will be disappeared. The light will vanish the darkness which was in the room previously. At the same time, the lamp will spread the light in the whole room. These are two qualities of the lamp. Removing the darkness in one quality, spreading the light is another quality. By considering these qualities, in the Pali we can see there are many words. For the same thing, for the same lamp, we use Tamo Nudha or Tamadhansi by considering the quality of removing the darkness. And by spreading the light, that quality, by considering that quality, in Pali, we can see terms like Dipo, Padipo, Pajjoto. Those terms we can see, but these terms refer the same lamp. But by considering two qualities in two perspectives. In the same manner, the meritorious deeds have two qualities. One is, when we have a meritorious mind, when we are doing a meritorious deed, we will be having the meritorious mind. One task of this meritorious mind is to remove the defilements from the mind, like greediness, craving, hate, the delusion. Those are the dhammas, those are the things which will make the mind dirty. So, having a meritorious mind, these dirty things, these defilements will be removed by this meritorious mind, by the kusala. That is one quality of the meritorious mind. We can see the kusa means the dirty things like craving, hate, greediness, or the delusion. These are the dirty things we call kusa by the Pali. Kuchitena akarena santane sayantiti kusa. That means these dirty things will be named as kusa. Then kusa sankate te papake akusale dhamme salayanti chalayanti kampenti vidvansenti iti eti kusala. The things which removes these dirty kusa things, dirty things, defilements from the mind, we name as kusala. So it is one quality of this meritorious mind, that it removes these things which are named as kusa, defilements, dirty things. That is one quality of the meritorious mind. And the other quality is, when we have a meritorious mind, our mind will be happy. The happiness will be given by this meritorious mind. Hadaya puna titi punya. The meritorious acts make the mind happy, make the mind clear, make the mind clean. That is another quality of the meritorious mind. By the first quality, the kusala name was given because kusasankhate te papake akusale dhamme chalayanti kampanti iti vidvansenti iti eti kusala. And by the second quality, by the second definition, hadaya punati iti punya. So these two words were given by two perspectives, by considering two qualities of the same meritorious mind. This is the correct, the real interpretation what was in the Dhamma. So there are no two different meritorious deeds like kusala meritorious deeds and punya meritorious deeds. All the meritorious deeds we can refer either kusala dhamma or the punya. But in two different qualities what the meritorious deeds have. But the same thing, but two different names. Not two different things. Not two different categories of meritorious deeds. By giving a wrong definition like that punya has a different segment of meritorious deeds, the kusala has different segment of meritorious deeds, a person who has not a deep understanding about Dhamma, then they will think about if some meritorious deeds will cause only for the sufferings, only for the life cycle, only for the next birth, then they will be afraid of doing those kind of meritorious deeds because ultimately it will be given the suffering, not the nibbana, not the end of the samsara. But there are another category of meritorious deed that will help, that will be the cause for the ending of samsara, for the ending of this suffering, to achieve the ultimate nibbana, for the Eightfold Noble Path. If someone has that opinion, then he will be frightened, he will be get afraid of to do some kind of meritorious deeds what will cause for the suffering only. Because by the wrong interpretation, he is thinking that by doing these meritorious deeds, so I will be end up with the samsara. I will be far away from the nibbana. So he is not trying to do the meritorious deeds by having that opinion. He is always trying to do only the particular part of the meritorious deeds like meditation or something like that, because it was mentioned as the Eightfold Noble Path, and by the wrong interpretation he has an idea that these meritorious deeds only help, will be the cause for the ending of samsara. So it is a very unfortunate opinion, unfortunate state, because he will be losing many more meritorious deeds which will bring the blissful results, desirable results, pleasing, charming, enduring results. We don't know, we can be eligible, we can be able to achieve nibbana in this life or within the next life. We don't know how many lives we have to go as a being in samsara until we get the nibbana, until we achieve the nibbana. So until we achieve the nibbana, we have to be in the samsara. We have to be in a human world or the divine world or the Brahma world. Wherever we go, these meritorious deeds will help us to get a blissful life, desirable life, the comfortableness. If someone is going to the hell, if he is born in the animal world, the ghost world, or any other undesirable world, then he will not get a chance to improve these meritorious deeds. So that's why Buddha was saying in the MΑPUÑÑABHާYī Sutta, Ma bhikkave puññānam bhāyita sukassetam bhikkave adivachanam ittassa kantassa piyassa manāpassa yadidam puññāni. So these are the investments what we can have for the samsara, for the next lives until we achieve the nibbana. So we should be careful when we are listening to different kind of sermons to have any idea about some Dhamma facts, not to have these kind of wrong interpretation definitions. By the punya and kusala, by those two terms, they refer the same meritorious deeds. But how it can be a cause for the suffering and how it can be a cause for the nibbana? We have to analyze this separately. To emphasize this, to describe this, I will take some points from Anguttara Nikaya commentary. We have to learn, we have to identify, understand 4 different words: Vattang, Vattapadang, Vivattang, Vivattapada. We can see those terms in Anguttara Nikaya commentary in Akamaniya Vagga. Vattam means the never-ending samsara life cycle. Vattapada means what are the cause, what are the actions, what are the deeds will cause for that never-ending samsara, the suffering. The causes for the suffering. Vattapada. Third term is Vivattam. Vivattam is the Navalokuttara Dhamma, 4 Maggas, 4 Palas, and ultimate Nibbana, the supramundane. The Vivattapadang is the causes for the Vivattam, the causes to achieve these 4 Maggas, 4 Palas, and the ultimate Nibbana. Those are the 4 different meanings for this Vattang, Vattapadang, Vivattang, and Vivattapada. In the same commentary, in the different Vagga, Sukha Vagga, we can see the statement Appamattakang Tinamutti Matta Kusala Danang Va Hotu Mahantang Velama Danadi Kusalang Va Vattam Pattetva Vattavasena Michcha Tapitang Vattameva Aharitum Sakkoti Novivatta. The meaning of this statement is, when someone is doing a meritorious deed, whatever the meritorious, even it is a small one, like donation of a bunch of grass, Apamattakan Tinamutti Matta Kusalangva, or even a Velamadhanadi Kusalangva Hotu, a huge donation like Velamadana. Wherever we do a smaller one or huge one, a dana, if someone is expecting only the worldly things, he is expecting not the supramundane results, not the ultimate Nibbana, 4 Maggas or 4 Palas. He is only expecting the worldly things, a blissful life, to go to the divine world or in the human world, to have a luxury life, comfortability. All these worldly things he is expecting only by giving a dana, whether it's a smaller one or huge one. That meritorious deed, Vattameva Haritum Sakkoti no Vivatta. This dana will bring only the Vattang, that means the never-ending samsara, the suffering, the next birth. No Vivattang. It will not be the cause for the Nibbana. And the second statement is, Idam me danang asavakkayavahang hotu iti vivattam pattantena vivatta vasena samma tapitam arahattampi pacceka bodhiñānampi sabbanyuta ñānampi āharatin sakkoti eva. That means, if someone is doing the same meritorious deed, whether it is a smaller one or a huge one, when he is expecting ultimately the supramundane, the Navalokuttara Dhamma, the 4 Maggas and 4 Palas and the ultimate Nibbana, the enlightenment, that donation, that meritorious act will bring him either arahantship or even the Pacceka Bodhiñāna or the Sabbanyuta Ñāna. That is the difference. That is how we differentiate those meritorious deeds. Because we don't differentiate the meritorious deeds by the appearance, by the action, but by the chetana, by the expectation. The same meritorious deed will be a cause for the never-ending samsara, the Vattang, or the same particular meritorious deed will be a reason, a cause for the Vivattang, the ending of the samsara. That is based on the expectation of the doer, of the person who is doing the meritorious deed. That is how we should identify, understand how we can achieve our worldly things or the supramundane, the ultimate Nibbana. That is based on the expectation of the person. So there are no meritorious deeds like Kusala separately and Punya separately. All meritorious deeds we can use for the next blissful life or the worldly things, or we can use all the meritorious deeds for the Nibbana by the expectation. So we should have this kind of understanding about this Punya and Kusala and about the meritorious deeds, and we should not be afraid of doing any kind of meritorious deed what is categorized as meritorious, because they are the investments for the next life or the next lives until we achieve the Nibbana, the enlightenment. Even we expect the Arahantship, become an Arahant, or even we expect to become a Pacceka Buddha, or even we are expecting to become Samma Sambuddha, we have to do all the meritorious deeds. So by the expectation that the particular result will bring to the person. So I'm going to end up the sermon now. So I wish these meritorious deeds what we have done by the Dhamma talk and by listening to the Dhamma will bring you a blissful life in this life, and until you make the achievements for the enlightenment, may these meritorious deeds will be a huge meritorious act for a blissful results, the pleasing, desirable, charming, enduring results, and this will be a cause for the ultimate Nibbana. And I expect to send these merits to our teachers who ordain us, who has taught Dhamma to us, and who are also teaching us. Those merits will be a reason, will be a cause to achieve their expected Bodhiñāna, the ultimate Nibbana. And all the friends, all the relatives who have passed away, who are expecting merits, may all these beings receive these meritorious deeds what we have done, and make their lives blissful, a desirable one, and may these all the merits will cause for a ending of sufferings and to achieve their expected Bodhiñāna and the ultimate Nibbana. And the Devas, Brahmas who are protecting you, us, and the Sambuddha Sasana, the country and the world, who are expecting these kind of meritorious deeds, may receive these merits, and they may have a blissful life, and may protect you, us, the Sambuddha Sasana, country and the world, and ultimately they may achieve the ultimate Nibbana by the course of these merits. So we wish all the listeners may have a blissful life and may have a desirable, pleasing lives until you achieve the Nibbana, and these merits will be a cause to achieve the Anupadisesa Parinibbana, to achieve all the Maggas, Phalas, to end off this suffering. Theruvan Saranai.